We are very happy to be given this stage. Our cyclists, we want to wish them well. We hope that all of them will be able to participate in the Olympics. But as we have said, this race that they will be taking around the whole Free State is a qualifier, it's a decider for them to be the entrance of the Olympics.
Stage 2 of the second annual Tour de Free State, presented by the Free State Tourism Authority, took the riders just over 100 kilometres from Jagersfontein to Bloemfontein. It was a sad day for South African prospects and for Team Lotto Belisol, with Johanna van der Winkel crashing out of the race.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that Jo went down. I mean, I saw it happen. I was on her wheel, so I went down as well, but luckily not as hard as she did. Of course, when we hit the mountains, I'm really going to feel the loss of Jo. She is a good climber and one of my allies in the mountains. So, yeah, I'm really sad to hear that she's gone down bad, and I just hope that she recovers well.
The support for Ashley Moolman-Pasio continued into the second day of the race, as Jagersfontein came out in their numbers to greet some of the world's best female cyclists. Ahead of the second stage, there were some tweaks to be made to equipment, but the girls were ready for another long day in the saddle.
Especially, I think, for women cycling in South Africa, I think this is a great opportunity and a privilege, and just to put South Africa on the map as well, and also to gain some valuable points, last-minute valuable points before the Olympics for the girls that's in contention for it. So, yeah, for me personally, just to be part of it is a great privilege, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
There was a huge roar for the cyclists, including Henriette Schoeman, the former 7-time South African national champion, as the neutral start saw them head out of Jagersfontein on the long and straight road to Bloem. The race, the first ever UCI registered race on the African continent, is also the last chance for some of the world's international teams to gain points and places at the London Olympics. Ahead of the Tour de Free State, South Africa already had 2 women qualified to go to the London Olympics. However, a good points haul at the Tour would allow a third to join them. As with the first day, there was a long neutral zone for safety reasons out of the town. But once the road opened up and the signs to Bloemfontein started, racing was on. Right from the start, Rusvelo were aggressive as they had been on day 1. With Doelman's Bulls, the Dutch team not far behind. The race leaders' jerseys were on display, with Stage 1 winner Ilona Ndruk in the general classification lead and Moolman-Pasio in the African leaders' jersey.
Day 2 of the second annual Tour de Free State started in Jagersfontein, a small town established in the southwest area of the Free State in the mid-1800s. The original farm on which the town now stands was once the property of Agricola Jacobus Jagers, hence the name Jagersfontein. A diamond rush started in 1870 after a farmer found a 50-carat diamond. This was about 3 years before diamonds were discovered in Kimberley, 130 kilometers away. Mines no longer operate in Jagersfontein, but there were many great finds, such as the 972-carat Excelsior diamond of 1893 and the 637-carat Ritz diamond of 1895, named after the then state president of the Free State, Francis William Ritz.
In Jaggers, we've got a number of tourist attraction places, but the most well-known place is the Big Hole, which is bigger than the Kimberley one, and a lot of people don't believe it. The reason why is the difference between the Big Hole in Kimberley and Jagersfontein. It's because the Kimberley one, it's a funnel shape, a cone shape, compared to the Jagersfontein one, which is vertical and horizontal, and the only man-made big hole compared to the Kimberley one. Other than that, we've got a number of sightseeing places. We've got Sir Herbert Baker architectural buildings in our main street. We've got pumps in our street which currently utilizes fire hydrants, whilst initially they were running water taps, like the taps that we're having in our yard currently. Because of the mine, we were also fortunate to have electricity by then for the mine operations. We also have a museum here in Jagersfontein where we display some of the history. And in the Big Hole also, we also have an admin office giving the history of when the mine was actually operating.
If the women had thought that day 1 was flat and straight, day 2 from Jagersfontein to Bloemfontein was as straight as it comes. Henriette Schoeman was enjoying her ride for MTN Quebeca, having only got an invite to the team just before the race. Although well into her 30s now, Schoeman is still one of the strongest riders in South Africa. Ahead of the hard straight day, with the wind coming to play once again, it was High-Tech and Risvello who controlled the early pace. About 30 kilometers into the race, Johanna van der Winkel ran out of road and went down hard. It caused an interruption to most of her Lotto teammates, and they were forced to do a lot of work as the race split up and formed into a few groups. With Lotto working hard to get back into the race, Johanna van der Winkel was far behind. She initially got back on the bike and attempted to get back into the race, however a further crash ended her Tour de Free State.
About 170 kilometers southwest of Jagersfontein is the Gariep region, named after the Gariep Dam. It's probably the region most likely to fulfill the picture of the Free State as a place of endless space, vast tracts of sheep and cattle farmland, a generous dollop of tranquility, and a part of the world known to few. A mere 129,000 people live in Gariep, a region regarded in the past as the country's backwater. But now, as the need by tourists to venture into authentic territory away from the country's over-visited and generally overextended hotspots, this region is unhurriedly being discovered. The Gariep Dam, lying in the southernmost part of the region, is the largest expanse of fresh water in the country. It lies on the Orange River, its shoreline extending some 435 kilometers near the towns of Betuli, Venterstad, Colesberg and Alwal North. Along the banks of the Gariep Dam are many guest houses, B&Bs and plush hotels with spectacular views of the dam. The restaurants and accommodation are world-class, ensuring fine dining and comfort for every visitor.
Ek is nou al die afgelope sê maar meer as 20 jaar op Gariep Dam. Almal is vriendelik en almal kom met almal reg. Ons het akkommodasie beskikbaar hierso. Daar's 7 chalets waarvan 3 kleintjies is en 4 groot luxe chalets is. Ons het die eland, die kudu, rooi hartebees, wilde bees, swart wilde bees, springbok en so voort. Die dam se oppervlakte is omtrent 36,000 hektaar. Die dam is eintlik soos nou die keerpunt van water wat die bo van die Katsi-dam afkom en dit is maar ook 'n toeriste aantrekking.
With 50 kilometers to go to Bloem, it was dry and no sign of water around on the road from Jagersfontein. The race was still split into a couple of groups following that earlier crash that took out Johanna van der Winkel. African classification leader Ashley Moolman-Pasio and her teammates were caught out and had plenty of work to do to still catch the leading group of riders. The wind was slowly starting to pick up and causing all sorts of trouble, with Moolman-Pasio coming through herself to do a lot of the work. While she had a strong Lotto team supporting her, it was required if she wanted to keep her general classification ambitions in check. The Eritrean team were holding their own, but not able to come to the front to help Lotto pull the race back together. To Lotto and Ashley Moolman's advantage, with the long straight roads, the group out front were never too far ahead and out of sight or out of mind. With a large group of riders together, the pace was still even and being set by Dorman Bulls and Emma Johansson's High-Tech team. The pace wasn't off for long, and as Ashley Moolman and the Lotto girls were able to get back, it was a long line of riders thanks to an attack by Rusvello. Four riders initially got away, but it was the Russian Olga Zabelenskaya who really made the move. One by one, her fellow breakaways fell away, and it was the Russian who was left to make the pace on her own out front. At one stage, extending the gap to over 2 minutes. Hrysvelo had been very aggressive on the opening stage, without any success, with Ilona Andruk of the Ukraine taking that first stage win. Ashleigh Moolman-Pasio really has had a breakthrough year, and she was doing her bit in pulling back the Russian.
The town of Philippolis lies only 60 kilometers from Gariep Dam and 180 kilometers south of Bloemfontein. It's not only considered the oldest settlement in the province, but this town is also the birthplace of Laurens Jan van der Post, famous author, political advisor to British heads of government and godparent to Prince William. Virtually in the middle of South Africa, this little historical town is renowned for its hospitality and welcoming atmosphere.
Back on the road to Bloem, Zabelinskaya still had a lead off the front, but the high-tech girls were working hard to pull her back in. With the gap coming down, some riders tried to make the junction, with the Ukraine team, as they had on the first day, looking to work for a stage win. High-tech continued to mark the moves, looking out for their race leader, Emma Johansson. As with Ashleigh Moolman-Pasio and the Lotto squad, Johansson, the world number 3, is not afraid to come forward and do the work herself. Her high-tech teammates had been working tirelessly for 2 days, and it was Johansson who came through to make the final push to catch Zabelinskaya. The Russian had held 2 minutes at one stage, however the teams worked hard to pull her back, and high-tech kept the pace up to avoid any further attacks once they made the catch. Zabelinskaya's effort was over, but now high-tech really had to worry and look for any further attacks as the rest of the peloton looked to get away. Emma Johansson was quick to track down the moves herself. The Swede is one of the strongest riders in the world, having won the silver medal at the Beijing Olympics. London in 2012, her ambition is to make that a gold. With the race back together, Bloemfontein was not far off, and we were just 30 kilometers from the finish.
Bloemfontein is the capital city of the Free State province and is the judicial capital of South Africa. It is popularly and poetically known as the City of Roses, owing to the abundance of these flowers and the annual Rose Festival held there. The city is served by the Bloemfontein Airport, which, like many others in South Africa, underwent 46 million rand in construction and upgrading of the whole airport in preparation for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. Bloemfontein is home to the 18-hole par 72 Bloemfontein Golf Club, which has been in existence for 115 years. The club strives to keep improving the conditions of the greens and add minor changes to the layout so to offer a course that is a challenge off the back tees as well as being fun and playable off the others. Bloemfontein has world-class shopping malls scattered all over the city, as well as coffee shops and gourmet haute cuisine restaurants, giving visitors and locals a feast of choice when hitting the town. Adding to that is the vibrant nightlife that this city has to offer. People of all ages frequent popular clubs and pubs around town, keeping up with the social networking and gatherings.
ANC was born here in 1912. Like I stand there, behind me is Mapikela House, where the leaders of the ANC were been. All in all, Bloemfontein, it is very nice.
The project is Operation Chassel. It's the previous project. The purpose of the project is to keep the Karo community clean and to get us youth out of the streets.
Dominating the Bloemfontein skyline, standing proudly in the heart of the city, is Naval Hill. Standing atop this geographic wonder, you're provided with an exquisite panoramic view of Bloemfontein. Located within the Franklin Game Reserve, it is known for both its natural beauty and its historical significance. Franklin Game Reserve on Naval Hill is currently the only nature reserve in the world to be located in the middle of a city. In 1928, the mayor opened the observatory on Naval Hill. It was, however, closed in 1974 and later revamped into a lovely theatre called Observatory Oosterewag Theatre. At the bottom of Naval Hill is the Leeuwenhuis Art Museum. This neo-Dutch style mansion originally served as residence for the Governor-General of the Union of South Africa in 1942. In 1985, former State President P.W. Botha released the residence to the National Museum, converting it to an art museum, and in 1989, Leeuwenhuis Art Museum was officially opened. The museum currently consists of almost 1,400 artworks. Every attempt is made to provide excellent exhibition space for artists to enrich the public's knowledge, understanding and appreciation of our cultural heritage and to reflect the full diversity of South African art. The Free State Stadium, also known as Vodacom Park, was one of the venues for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. It is home to the Free State Toyota Cheetahs rugby team, as well as the Bloemfontein Celtics Premier League soccer team.
Bloemfontein is not only known for its ball sports, but also for its endurance athletes, and some of South Africa's best cyclists have been born in and around the city. With the earlier attacks having been quelled, it was a large group that were coming together ahead of the run-in to the capital of the Free State.
The Mangaung African Cultural Festival, known as the Makufe Festival, is held every year in Bloemfontein. It's a celebration of music, art, film and culture and draws thousands of fans to Bloemfontein from all over the world. This year, the festival will be held from the 5th to the 14th of October.
With the group taking a slight breather ahead of the fast run into the city, there was a prime opportunity to attack. Anke Kopp van Achel didn't miss the chance as the only German-based rider on the Russian Rusvelo team. She was not able to get any time as once again it was Emma Johansson who plugged the gap, bringing the rest of the riders with her. The Swede is fast on both the flats and the climbs, and a fast run into Bloem would definitely suit her style. Despite the earlier breeze, the wind had died down, and it was the pace now that was putting the women under pressure. The finish at the National Women's Monument in Bloem was now only 10 kilometers away.
The National Women's Memorial was opened on 16 December 1913, so next year would be the 100-year centenary of the monument, and it was opened to commemorate and to remember the suffering of the women and the children during the Boer War of 1899 to 1902. There's quite a few statues on the grounds at the museum. The one is called Afskeid, and it was to also to commemorate and to show that the women said goodbye to their husbands when the war broke out on the 11th of October 1899. Then there's another statue of the prisoners of war that went on to various camps, prisoner of war camps, from Bermuda to Ceylon, and that's another statue. Then there's a third one, it's called the Bitter Einde, and it is to commemorate and to show the hardships at the end of the war when it finished in 1902, 31 of May, that the men and the animals and everyone has kept on till the bitter end. There was also a need from the public that was identified. People wanted to have a place where they could send their collectibles and the memorabilia of the Boer War. So in 1931, the museum was opened on these grounds, and that is now the Boer War Museum, and it's well renowned nationally and internationally with a huge and a wonderful Boer War collection.
Into the City of Roses, the women had little time to take in the sights as they were firmly focused on winning the stage. Small attacks went off the front, but with the peloton right up there was no chance they were going to let anyone get away at this stage of the race. Even into one of the busiest cities in South Africa, the police support on the race was fantastic, with full road closure maintained throughout. 3 had come to the finish line together at the end, with Andruk just pipping Johansson. A bigger group was together, and there were a lot more riders in contention for the win on stage 2. It was all about positioning coming into the final 100 meters. Johansson had finished second on the opening stage, but she went first in an attempt to open her account in the race. It proved slightly too early as Laura van der Kamp came through to take the win, with Johansson second again and Moolman Pasio fourth.
We had to control the race, and Martine Bras, my teammate, lead me out in the perfect way, so I could win. So that was the plan, and it happened.
Yeah, just fourth. I really felt I could have finished better than that, but I was a little bit boxed in between, I think, the winner and the second place rider, whatever it was, so I couldn't come through, but happy with fourth. I didn't lose any more time today, which is great, and really looking forward to going to the mountains now in Clarence.
Yeah, a victory is always tastes a lot better, but yeah, I had to start the sprint already from 250 or 260 meters, and normally that's a little bit too far out, but I'm feeling very strong, and normally the mountains is a bit more my kind of race, and I also know that we had some good attempts today with the team and trying to break it. In one way, of course, I want to win, but second is also good.
She may have claimed back-to-back second places, but there was a bigger prize in mind for Johansson, and that was the lead in the general classification, which she took from stage 1 winner Alona Andruk. Moolman Pasio, after fourth, maintains the African lead in the race.
The Tour de Free State 2012 was proudly brought to you by the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs of the Free State Province.